Refreshing stories. My name is Hiroshi. I'm a baker, and I own a bakery specializing in hard breads. For the record, hard breads are breads that are like French baguettes, where the exterior is hard. Ever since I was little, I always loved eating these hard types of bread. And then, I was no longer satisfied by the bread I found at other bakeries. And in order to perfect the bread that I desired, I started to do self-research about how to bake bread. I read through many books, and I tried comparing bread from different bakeries, and I spent many years doing this research. As a result, I finally succeeded in perfecting my ideal loaf of bread. And then, to spread the taste of this bread that I loved so much, I was very excited to open up my own bakery. However,
it's so hard. What is wrong with this bread? I could never eat bread that's this hard.
What on earth is this? My gums! My gums! Contrary to my hopes and dreams, my beloved bread wasn't accepted. I guess I made it a little too hard. But I refuse to give up. There's no way that things like this go well from the beginning anyway. I'm sure that if I continue making this bread, then they will accept the bread that I love so much. I just need to be motivated and work harder. There was a lot of bread that would have to be thrown out. But even then, I didn't let it get me down. And I put a lot of love into baking my bread with everything that I had so that people could understand it. Then one day, I had a meeting with a certain young boy. That day was a very cold day, and the little boy was wearing a worn-down long-sleeve shirt as he came knocking on the bakery door.
Mister, can you give me the bread crusts?
Hey, young man. I'm very sorry, but our place doesn't have plain bread loaves with crusts on them.
Are you kidding? You're a bakery and you don't sell normal bread?
At this bakery, we only have the bread that I love the most, a type of bread that's called hard bread.
I didn't know that. I guess that means that I won't get to eat anything again today.
Young man, where are your mom and dad?
They're at home, but our family is poor, so we don't even have money to buy bread.
When I saw how upset the little boy was, I didn't have it in me to kick him out of the bakery. That was when I stuffed all of the bread that I was going to have to throw away into a large bag. I decided to give it to this battered young boy. Young man, I hope you'll eat this bread that I put a lot of love into making.
No way! It's okay. I feel really bad to you.
It's fine. Just take it all with you. You don't need to hesitate.
I'm really happy about your offer, but with hard bread, I have to drink a lot of water, so it's a little bit hard to eat.
I see. I guess it's hard for kids to eat it. Oh, but I just had a good idea. Wait just a minute. I put some ham and cheese in between the bread, and I made a sandwich so that the boy would be able to eat it more easily. Yeah, this way, it should be easier to eat. When I handed him the sandwich, the boy looked at me with doubtful eyes as he reluctantly took a bite. But then, the boy's eyes brightened up, and he looked really happy as he continued to eat the rest of the sandwich.
What is this? It is so good!
When you place ingredients like this in between the hard bread, it completely changes the texture of it, and it becomes really delicious.
I always thought that hard breads were hard to eat, but your bread is totally different.
The hard bread soaks up the moisture from the ingredients, so it doesn't get soggy, and you can eat the whole sandwich deliciously. There are a lot of people who don't like hard breads, but most people just don't know the right way to eat it. That's why I'm trying to spread the deliciousness of hard breads here.
You must be amazing! Mister, this is the first time I've ever had bread this good.
Well, that makes me blush when you compliment me so much. I still have a lot of other breads, so please, do take them all. At that moment, when the young boy complimented my bread, I had my head in the clouds. Actually, ever since I opened the bakery, I never had a single customer tell me they liked it, and I was on the verge of a mental breakdown. I was so happy that I took the boy's hand and we shook hands.
Mister, your hands are so warm.
Thanks to these hands, I can make this bread. That's why they're special hands.
I really like your bread, mister, and I like your hands too. It makes me feel like my heart is getting warmed.
Is that so? Wow, you're really making me blush. When the boy complimented me, I started to get even more excited. This was the first time I had ever been complimented this much, and I was so happy, I was almost getting carried away. After that, the boys started coming to visit the bakery consistently. Every time he'd come, I would give him a bag of bread for free. You can pay me once you become a working adult, so I don't want you to worry about it. You just eat a lot, so that you can keep growing bigger.
Mister, thank you. Thank you so much.
And so, my interactions with the young boy continued for about 3 years. But then one day, out of nowhere, the boy stopped coming at all. That boy hasn't been in here recently at all. I should have asked him for his address, or at least a way to contact him. I had no doubt that something must have happened with the boy's family. But since I had no way of getting in contact with him, all I could do was to continue the bakery until the day he would come back. However, around the time the young boy stopped coming, the bakery business was getting worse and worse by the day. And around the time I reached 10 years since opening, I devastatingly had to close down the bakery. I wasn't able to tell everyone how great this bread is with my own power. I'm so upset. Too upset. Even after I closed the bakery, for a while, I wasn't able to let go of my love for bread, and I tried to find any way possible to reopen the bakery somehow. But because I had already been in a deficit ever since I started the bakery, I was actually carrying quite a large debt. First, I needed to somehow pay back that debt, so I got rid of all my aprons and my baking machinery, and I put on a suit and decided to start job searching. However, I was well into my adult years, but I had never worked at a normal company before, and I had only ever made bread until now. Because of that, there were barely any companies that would even take me in for an interview. Even if I got through the paperwork application and went to an interview, every day was rejection after rejection. I was completely broken down mentally, but even still, I had debt that I had to pay off somehow, so there was no way I could give up. I was desperately continuing the job search when I realized that I had applied to over 100 companies already. Then, this momentous 100th company was a food and beverage related company that was selling sandwiches in the suburbs. Since I did have a background in food and beverage, I was able to get through the paperwork application, the first round interview, and the second round interview, and I was able to make it all the way to the final CEO interview.
The CEO is somebody who has a fairly unique sensibility, so I'm afraid, well, most people get dropped.
What? What? What on earth is that supposed to mean?
The CEO is a very brilliant man, but he is a very whimsical person. We can never say anything to him.
I don't really understand what you're saying.
Anyway, it's going to be an extremely difficult interview, but what would you like to do?
No matter how difficult of an interview it may be, there could somehow be a miraculous turn of events. That's what I thought, and I decided to take on the final interview. Yes, I'll be taking the final interview with the CEO. I'm going to do my best, so that I can definitely pass.
I understand. Well then, please allow me to explain how this final interview will go. For the final interview, please prepare a sandwich that you think is delicious. We look forward to seeing you on the day.
The instructions for the interview were a lot more simple than I expected, so I did shrug it off a little bit. But since she told me it was an extremely difficult interview, there must have been a reason behind this simple task. This really made me scratch my head. Then, before I knew it, the day of the interview arrived. I was waiting at the venue until it was time for my interview, when suddenly, the CEO and the interviewer arrived in the venue. Hello, everybody! Thank you very much for coming to this final interview round. After he said that, the CEO went around to every single person that was there for the interview and started shaking their hands. It was a mystery why he was shaking everybody's hand, but one by one, he made sure to do so. After that, one by one, we were called individually, as each person took their sandwiches that they had brought to the interview. This is making me super nervous. My hands won't stop sweating. The interviews were going by quickly, and everybody who went to the interview room with confidence all came out of the room with a pretty defeated look on their faces. Every time I would see that, I couldn't stop shaking. I was the very last interviewee, but apparently, every single person besides me was rejected, and they all looked like ghosts as they disappeared.
Mr. O'Hara, please make your way into the interview room.
Yes, ma'am! My name was called by the interview staff, and I entered the room and greeted the CEO and the other interviewers. And then, I turned in the sandwich that I had prepared. This is a sandwich with ham and cheese, stuffed into a hard-style bread. I thought that these ingredients would go best with this bread, and that's why I made it.
Interesting. Is that so? But it looks like you're using the exact same ingredients as the person who just got rejected.
Are you serious? Then I'm definitely going to get rejected.
Well, why don't we give it a try anyway?
And then, the interviewers and the CEO started to eat my sandwich. When I heard the conversation between the interviewers, I was convinced that I definitely failed, and I wasn't able to watch the moment that they tried the sandwich. All I could do was tightly close my eyes. Mr. Ohira, please, open your eyes. Sir? When I opened my eyes, the CEO was standing directly in front of me with a big smile on his face. And then he made an announcement that shocked everybody there. Mr. Ohira, you're hired. Congratulations. What?
What on earth is going on here? I just thought it was a normal sandwich.
At that moment, when I saw the CEO and heard his laugh, it hit me. I remember that young boy, and the way that he laughed was exactly the way that the CEO was laughing. Wait a minute. Could it be that you're the young boy from that time? You finally realized, Mr. Ohira. Now I can finally pay you back as a working adult. I look forward to working with you from now on. When I heard those words, I knew for a fact that the CEO was the young boy from 10 years ago. I never imagined that he would remember me, and I was on the verge of tears from the shock and the happiness. After the interview was over, I was invited into the CEO's office, and he started to tell me about what happened 10 years ago. Actually, my parents ended up getting a divorce, and I was taken with my mother back to her hometown. It all happened so fast that I wasn't able to say bye to you, Mr. Hiroshi, before I had to leave the town. For all these years, that was my one and only regret. I had no idea. I figured that something must have happened, but because I hadn't asked you for any contact information, I couldn't even look for you if I tried. But I never could have imagined that you'd be a CEO by now. Back at my mother's family's home, we were receiving support from my mom's siblings. This company was actually owned by my mom's older brother, my uncle, but because my uncle didn't have children of his own, as his nephew, I ended up being the one to take after it. Well, is that so? Actually, as soon as I took over as CEO, I immediately went to visit your bakery, but by then, it was already closed. I'm so sorry. I was never able to make a profit there, so I had no choice but to close it. No, if anything, my biggest regret was that I was never able to get back to you for everything you did for me. Ever since then, I wanted to eat your bread, Mr. Hiroshi, and I desperately did my own research on bread, but I was never able to replicate that flavor. Just as I was at a loss for what to do, I was able to reunite with you miraculously like this. And now, finally, I can pay you back for everything that you did for me. I think it might be funny to say that I'm paying you back as a working adult. But would you please join this company and teach me how to make bread from scratch? I want nothing more than to work with you, Mr. Hiroshi. I had no idea that you were thinking of me this much. Thank you. Truly, thank you. When I heard the young man's thoughts, I cried my heart out like a child. I felt like I was finally being redeemed for all those years that I spent desperately making the bread that I loved. And I was truly happy from the bottom of my heart. And so, I officially joined the young man's company, and I decided that I would continue making my bread. After that, I was given the position to supervise all of the bread that was used in our company's sandwiches. And then, we received feedback that the bread had become even more delicious, and the reviews slowly started to spread. Thanks to those customers, the sales also steadily increased, and we were able to start selling online across the country. As a result, our sandwich became famous on a national level, and we became a super popular shop with customers from all over the place. And now, currently, I'm helping to produce our new brands of bread, and I'm in charge of supervising all of the products for the company. As I work, I hope I can continue to reach more people to spread the deliciousness of our bread. Thank you for watching all the way till the end. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. And if you have time, please check out our other videos as well. Alright then, see you next time. Bye.